So far on Alex Builds, and despite having no building experience, I decided to build an old style barn on a massively sloping plot. I bought some stone and built a test wall, got some trees cut down, then hired a digger, with which I ruined my garden, pulled out 2 tree stumps, dug some trenches, cocked up those trenches and fixed the trenches. I built a concrete chute through which we cocked up the concrete pour which set with a slope, which we fixed by cutting loads of trench blocks and laying them to offset the slope. We avoided another concrete cock-up by hiring a pump and then faced off the end wall, which actually looked really good. This then led to 12 months of back-breaking stonework involving failed efforts, working in terrible weather, getting up to height, but perhaps most impressively of all, in the last episode, I built an arch. Right, welcome to Stonework finale. We're into July, I forget the date, but it was Wimbledon final yesterday, Djokovic won, 2022, and we're doing well, but we're a bit stuck in the weeds. This is like those Grand Designs episodes where the building site's a mess, everything's stuck in the middle. We're there. So you're going to see a video of 3 seasons today. It actually covers 9 months. Just a bit of work starting off before we bash that wooden frame out and see if the arch stays up, just to get the walls level and finished round the sides. Maybe this one. The aim being, got a nice flat working area for the next course. Well, we're well underway in day 2 of this little 3-day stint. As you can see, that top course, let me just zoom in. So that's still setting, going off, but looks nice and tidy. Right, there's 2 ways to do this. One, I could just let this thing fall out. It strikes me as a very bad idea, so I won't be doing that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach the top part, the semicircular part. I've taken these out and let it just drop down a little bit. So I'm going to put a brace in here so that it'll just drop down a few inches. I mean, it doesn't matter how far it drops, because if this thing isn't self-supported, going to come down regardless. I'm sure it won't, but I honestly don't know. Sorry if the contrast isn't quite right. Another thing I could try and do is maybe just shift it out. What I don't want it to do is I don't want it to fall like that, because if it falls like that, the back corner will be higher, it will push up on the arch. That could be problematic. And the thing is, if I can move it a couple of feet that way, using a sledgehammer, the ground is just a little bit lower, so it could drop down. I think that is moving. Okay, so it really has shifted. As you can see, the struts bottom left have moved 1/2 inch, so that's fine. I think this is a way to do it. Look, there could be problems with this way, but the good thing about this is I'm not in the way of it. So even if we have a big collapse of some sort, it won't be on me or the camera. Fingers crossed. Okay. We've got an arch as it stands. Right, this is it. Go. Come on. You know what? Could even let it down slowly if I wanted to. But I'm not. That's an arch. I'm not proud of the scaffolding getting lifted in the air. Good job I wasn't standing on it, but I did see that coming, by the way. Brilliant. Wow. Amazing. Okay, I've come back now, the sun's gone in. Just to reflect on it. So, the arch is still standing. God, it looks really thin, doesn't it? Now the frame is gone. Anyway, what else was I expecting? As I look on the underside, it's fine. I mean, I need to brush it all out a bit. But it looks fine. The key thing is I just want to make sure it's sturdy and stable. I'm very sure it is. So I've had a bit of a tidy up down here and removed the wooden frame from where it kind of, I'd say fell, I think the word is, collapsed. That's good. Arch is standing, looking nice. As I move the wooden frame, I've realised that the weight of the wooden frame is probably about 5 times the actual weight of the stone arch itself, but that doesn't matter. I've got an arch and it's standing. No one was killed. So I dropped a plumb line, and when I say plumb line, I mean some paracord or a lump of rock attached to it. And this paracord is draped over the centre point of the arch at the top, the keystone. And as you can see, it doesn't quite line up. We're probably about 30 mil to the right. I think the wind is blowing that a little bit. Reasons for that, there's lots. I mean, first of all, the wall of the arch here isn't entirely plumb. I've done it by eye. Also, if you actually look at the width of the stones in the arch, I mean, they're not equal, so I've got a couple of really thick ones there, width-wise, whereas the ones over here were a little bit thinner, so that's kind of pushed everything across to the right-hand side. That is not a problem at all, but I just want to be mindful of that, is that when I find the top point of the roof up above here, I might just want to slightly recenter it and take some measurements against the left and right-hand walls. So I've only got one piece of wood long enough for the job here. And by long enough, I mean longer than the 4.5 meters that's going to be the actual height. God almighty. So big is the true height of this thing. I didn't even capture the top of it in the previous shot. Well, I'm looking at it now, and I've got to admit, I'm slightly thinking to myself, does it really need to be quite that high? But it is a barn, not a shed. But it certainly is going to be imposing. Okay, so I've got that course in, looking very nice. And there's the other side over there. And just a close-up, you can see that I've put 2 screws in the wet mortar, and that is going to allow me to put a string line up. When I put the bit of wood back in the middle, I'll have a string line on either side. Alright, here you go. Hopefully you can see this. This is quite a good light. So that first course has gone in where I've started to notch to the left and the right the line of the triangle of this end here, the gable end I think it's called. I've now set the post in the middle, which is dead centre. In the middle I've got a little plumb line coming down, so I know that I'm going to be building this thing completely flush to gravity, that is. And I've now got
2 string lines on each side. You can just pick that out. There you are. 2 string lines. So as I build these sides up, I'll be able to use these to basically take a line against which to cut the block on the far left or on the far right over there each time to follow that line. Obviously it's always important to be flush at the best of times, but it sort of makes me nervous, this section. I've never done it before. I mean, that's a huge wall, if you like, sitting on top of that section, and it's got no sort of side support. You know, this section down here is part of a rectangle, if you like. You know, there's a 90-degree angle to the left, whereas this one, until I tie the roof into it, it's just standing on its own. So as long as I get it completely flush, it should be okay. Right, this is a new phase. We're up high, quite high up actually. Here's the top of the arch, which I'm working on. Great thing about doing a decent scaffold, as you can see here and here, is I've now got enough room to actually lay things out rather than having to shuffle blocks around. So it should go that bit quicker. The only issue is, there's a couple of issues. One, I have to lug everything up here, and also I've got to wear a ridiculous hard hat now because I'm putting things up high. Things might start falling on me. It's my own fault for buying a bright green one. Well, it's been a while since I've had this camera on, about 2 or 3 months, mainly because progress is slow, and also I've just been filming bits on my phone. As you can see from the colours in the trees, the seasons have changed. It's actually December. Surprised we've still got leaves on the trees, but anyway, this is where we're up to. Now, this piece of wood that's been sawn, which is facing you, is just a bit of old timber, but in reality a piece of oak is going to go through there. Now the first thing is, this bit of wood is too small. I had imagined that this would be 100mm by 100mm. I just don't think there's enough to it. So I'm going to go for 150 by 150mm when the oak comes. But what I've got to do is I've got to create a hole in the stonework in expectation of that bit of oak that's going to go through it. It's probably easier to show you in the design what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this piece of wood here, a purlin that comes through. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cut the stone underneath here. And I did say I didn't think it was thick enough, so this here is at 100mm, 0.1 meters, and it is too thin. Actually, in the final design I will go for 150mm, but for the time being I've left it like this. Now you've probably not got a sense of scale, so look, here's the Avant, and here is a very large chunk. I'm thinking of using this. So what I could do is I could cut this and I could sit the bit of oak through the top of this. It's going to involve a bit of sawing and a bit of chiselling, but it may well work. Right. This is not a small bit of stone. God. And this was the exact moment that I pulled my back. You'll hear me complaining about it, but I couldn't feel it much at this point. By that evening, I couldn't get up out of a chair. Oh. Did I pull my back there a little bit? Yes, I did. Now, I'm hoping I get 2 pieces out of this. So that will be facing out, that will be facing out. I've got 2, of course, because I've got the left and the right hand side. 24. Very tempted just to hit it and break it, but it may not go straight down, and if I ruin this piece of stone, I'm not going to be happy. Right, I have really hurt my back from earlier because I'm an idiot. Let's try. On the inner piece here, which means that the drop point is here. There we go. So Nearly. Shit. Bollocks. I think I'm going to go back to plan A. And plan A was just build blocks around it and cut them with the angles. Won't be as strong, but hey ho. What was I saying about the seasons changing? Don't think I'm going to get much built today. So what you're seeing here is attempt 2. I'm just trying to be a little bit more sensible about it. And all I'm doing here is just cutting blocks that follow the string line and then follow the line of where the purlin itself will go. So this looks fine as you look at it here. Look at the sort of slope of the stone against the string line. That's easy. But as we rotate round, you can see that cutting the inside so that it's kind of straight all the way through was a bit trickier. And I felt that that would be problematic. So I decided, well, first of all, I needed a piece of wood that was 150mm by 150mm. So here I am screwing together a load of wood to sort of create this kind of dummy purlin section. You'll also see me attach a sort of dummy rafter to that in a bit as well. But I decided to try and go for some slightly more fancy looking stonework, using some sort of thin slivers, if you like, of stone. Anyway, that's coming up in the next section. Okay, to make the video a bit quicker, I'm talking about putting some stone underneath the purlin, some sort of thin bits, through bits that go through, and that means that the purlin can sit on them, and then I can mortar those bits of stone in. The kind of stone I'm thinking of, so I've got a lot of these flat pieces, is something a bit like that. So you know what, I'm not surprised this has taken ages. This is way more complicated than I thought. So, the idea is that this bit of wood is going to sit in here. And you can see it's broadly about right. Right, little reminder. Here is the oak bit. Okay? We then have this bit of stone, that bit of stone there in which it sits, and there'll be a mortar joint in between. Okay? And then as we work our way out to the left, we've got a block in here, which is set there. If you remember, this top edge of this sort of kind of rafter thing is where the string line would go. And you can see, as I come round, here is this piece here cut, which will butt up against that with a mortar joint. Just one last thing, notice that I've labelled these with chalk. It seems so obvious when they're sitting here, but I tell you, by the time you're taking them out one by one, you know, these things all kind of like are mirrors of each other, so next thing you know, you get them out of sequence. But it's hard to be sure. Right, and there we have it. I've not put the wood in so you can see what's going on. That is how we're going to do it. It's quite hard to film up here, so I've strapped the camera to the scaffold. So this is the area here we've got to get all this stuff in. I've got it all dry laid up here and it's just in shot. I think this is going to be really tricky, I really do. I'll have to get the ladder on the other side, big drop down there. Let's see how we get on. Handle. Right, this is hard. I'm just going to leave this to dry for sort of 10 minutes. Just to sort of let it just firm up a bit and I can just tweak the blocks a little bit more. It's actually quite good, it's quite level. I mean, it looks a mess, I always say this. You can just brush this stuff up afterwards, no problem. The important thing is we get the levels in. The other problem is that the front of the wall at this course below is higher than the one at the back. So I'm trying to get it straight through, get other pieces, and I'm dealing with a slight slope towards the back, just because of the unevenness of the stone on each course. So it's quite a tricky thing to get right, trust me. So as you can see, not far to go actually. Look, I've been working out how many more courses, only roughly, see the chalk? Now remember though, as they get smaller to the top, they get narrower, so I can lay more than one in a day. So let's call that 1, 2, 3 and 3, I can do those two together, 4 and 4 be laid together, and then 5 and 5 on the top bit. So in theory, I've got 5 more sessions to get to the top. Bit of special history here. We've got a special. Look how, see it's a different colour?
Yeah.
Well, so how about I do most of them? So, okay.
Maybe I'd been watching the Shawshank Redemption a bit where he leaves the tin under the different stone. Anyway, I thought it would be nice to have a stone set by each of the kids that looks a bit different from the rest. But as you can imagine, laying a stone in a wall for children's quite an underwhelming experience. However, I think they kind of get the idea now they're set in.
Yeah. Okay, stop there. If I just put some water on that, you'll see. Very, very different to the other ones. Do you want to hold that a second? So, yeah, you're going to hold it. That's exactly it. Okay. So, just gently on the front. Stop there.
And there they are. In fact, you can see them there. And actually, when the stonework's been cleaned up, they're even more vivid in a different light. So hopefully they will be there for eternity. Well, I say eternity, as long as the barn is standing, which could be a matter of days or weeks. Who knows?
Okay, so we've got this lot ready to go. I just want to show you something. So, by the way, quick tip I might have mentioned before is always take a photo or a little video with your phone before you take them out, because you'd be surprised how easily you get them mixed up when you put them down below. Anyway, what I was just going to show you though is here from above, this big one where you've got this sort of parallelogram shaped one, I think that's the word, or diamond if you like, with the club hammer head on it. So that is going to take the brunt of the weight of the oak, the top piece of the oak that goes through. I do know the word for that. Persimmon, purling. Oh God, am I getting mixed up? Doesn't matter. Anyway, you can sort of see here, this is roughly where the wood's going to go. But I want to remind you, I actually want it to be 2 or 3 inches higher. At the minute it looks just about spot on, because it will be notched, but I've still got 2 courses of mortar to go in. So I've just got the mixer running, you may be hearing in the background. So I'm going to get that set in the next hour. Hey folks, we're up the top. Only about 60 centimetres wide now, so it's actually the next day. I laid this yesterday. Just a bit of a close-up is it's so much easier to sort out the joints a day later. It's not properly dried yet, still a bit wet, but you can just work it a bit more easily, as I'm going to do now, and then we'll have a quick review of where we're up to. Okay, there you go. It's Stonework finale day. So all we've got to do is get a few blocks cut at the top. So the big finale is, so this diamond shape here is the bit of oak purlin coming through. So all I've got to do for today is cut my finger this piece here and this piece here. I need 2 on each side, front and back. And then that'll be ready to sort of take that purlin, which I'll drop on. Bits of stone that will go on the top ultimately there and there will be done after the wood goes in. So that shouldn't be a massive job, he says. Could be fiddly though. I wouldn't say these are brilliantly cut, but I'd say they're adequate.
Okay, this is it. It's the final time lapse of me laying stone, for now anyway.
Not bad. I'm going to leave that in there. I think. Cue a future episode where it falls on my head. Don't worry about that. I feel there should have been a bit more fanfare there, given it's the last ones. But actually, I suppose there's more to go on top, and there are a few dotted around. But anyway, there's the 4-in. We'll tidy up the mortar a bit later on, or first thing in the morning. Now, can't wait for this. Scaffolding down, clean up the joints, get the pressure washer on it. Really excited to see what it looks like without the scaffold. And that will be the Stonework finale.
Nine months that took, can you believe it? Looks pretty good though, if I say so myself. Good news is this gets the video pretty much up to current date, which is around March 2023, and we're on to the next phase. And if you look to the right of the video, you can see some oak. I really appreciate you watching the video. If you could give it a like, that would be great. If you could subscribe, even better, and feel free to leave me a comment. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching.